going to sound extremely inarticulate, but do you think hobbies have killed progress? I mean, when you write about the hikikomori, otaku in Japan, and we have these similar people who are obsessed about what are essentially minutiae and essentially hobbies. And it seems like no one is really thinking about the big picture anymore.
Well, I'm not actually myself not much of a believer in the big picture. I'm not much of a believer in the heroic model of everything. Not the heroic model of science and not the heroic model of literature. And I actually have more, I identify more easily with obsessive hobbyists than I do with scientists. The obsessive hobbyists for me are not a stretch. The scientists, the master hackers, and the genius prostitutes of the 21st century, I have to make that shit up.
What inspired Hubertus Bigin?
Well,
Speaking of making stuff up.
I'll tell you, that's thank you for asking me that, because it's kind of it segues easily into saying a few things about my process, as we authors like to call it. But I needed a guy. I had Casey. She was in London, and I needed a guy who basically would charge her with some crazy MacGuffin quest, give her a super platinum Amex card, and get off the stage. And then when kind of the battery was running down on her quest, he would come back again and say, "Haven't you done that quest yet? You better, or you're in trouble." And that was all I wanted. So I just wanted this. It was like a walk-on. It was going to be a highly colored walk-on, and that was my plan. And so I sketched the highly colored walk-on and then started spouting this hallucinogenic quasi-situation, this babble about marketing that sort of sounded like it meant something, but I didn't understand it myself. I was like, where have you been all my life? and often that's where the characters who prove most useful, or even most, popular with my readers, emerge from that. And with Milgram, I had no plan for there to be anything like Milgram, but I'd been trying to get Brown, the fascist surveillance master, to break into Tito's bedroom and change the battery on a bug. And I guess my plan was to introduce Brown, but Brown was doing it alone, and that was a problem because I found I could not do Brown's point of view. I couldn't do his interiority. I just couldn't. I couldn't imagine it. It was actually like too scary or something, too alien. But I hadn't. I was stubbornly kind of trying to advance that chapter opening anyway, and so I did this thing that is the verbal equivalent of drawing a stick figure. It just kind of went, he was trying to pick the lock and Brown was poking him in the rib, something like that. And instantly, there was this guy there who I had never seen before, and he had all these weird characteristics, and it just hadn't come from anywhere. And I kind of went, oh man, I don't know, this is too weird. I don't know if I can do this. And I thought, no, I'll do it. We'll just see where it goes. And that was where Milgram came from. And so he forced He was like a card that the universe forced on me, and I hadn't planned him at all. And I really been stuck until that happened. And a lot of my program, if you can call it that, is about going with that stuff. It's not as crazy as it sounds. And if any of you are trying to write or are engaged in other creative endeavors, if you've never tried using Brian Eno's deck of oblique strategy cards, they're worth getting a hold of. I don't actually have any now, but I used to have one of those decks, and I sort of memorized. I memorized the cards, and they say things like, you just shuffle it and pull one, and that's going to be your strategy for dealing with this problem. They say things like, honor your mistakes. And that's actually my favorite. I kind of got that engraved on the back of my forehead when I'm writing, honor your mistakes. You misspell something, or you mishear something. I was checking into a hotel in New York last week, and the pretty young woman at the desk at the end of checking in, it seemed to me that she said, well, if you need anything, sir, my name is Tyranny. Because I'm like many other folks, kind of on a one-to-one basis, I'm kind of shy. I couldn't think what can you say? So I thought, could it be true? And I went away and thought of it, and I figured what her name probably is Tyranny. That's a possible girl name in the 21st century. Maybe her mother was a Gene Tierney fan. Tierney's her first name, but in my dialect, or what's left of Tierney sounds. We live under the tyranny of the. But I begin wondering what I could do. Some part of me in the background's going, okay, what's the character like? Her name's Tyranny. And, you may see it one day in a book. I don't know, but that's sort of where the level of goofiness of this stuff arrives for me. It doesn't spring magically from my brow. Or anything. I'll answer one more question and I'll sign books. Yes.
Why two characters named Case?
If perhaps, although I doubt it, my unconscious was trying to tell me something, but I actually doubt it. I arrived at those two names through like long, oddly long journeys. Names of characters are really important to me. And Case was named after the 19th century but surviving today brand of American pocket knife, the Case Knife Company, which has a particular kind of 19th century logo, C. And for some reason, I attached that logo to the character, and it helped me. It helped the character be real for me. And there were also the poetry, the resonance of Case is like a burnt out case, or a case in a detective novel, or a medical case. And that was where that case, and the other case, whose name would actually be Casey, except that her mother mispronounced it, one of the things I knew about her before I knew much of anything else is that her mother was an electronic voice phenomena nut, and listened to like blank tape, listening for the voices of the dead, and that she had come to that through previously having been very interested in the works of Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet of Virginia Beach, who was a very, very famous American psychic, big time, sort of psychic, and maker of long-term predictions in the United States in the 40s. So I knew that about the character's mother, and at some point it occurred to me that Edgar Casey's last name actually looked like a rather beautiful first name for a girl, and it was probably a first name for a girl that I'd never seen print before. So I took it, and I was like 3/4 of the way into the book before I realized that people might assume that the similarity had some symbolic meaning, but because to the extent consciously for me it doesn't. But I was tempted for a minute to change her name, and I thought, nah, leave it alone, just fuck him up. Yeah, thank you.